Okay. I'm here. I'm good. 2 minutes. Believe me, if you knew what I was dealing with this morning, you would understand. It's been absolutely crazy, but I'm here. It's Saturday morning. That means Front Porch Brunch. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett, and welcome, as I said, to this wonderful thing we call Front Porch Brunch, our weekend review of all things in the news. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes called the wise guy in the wide brim. Sometimes I'm called the cat in the hat. On occasion, I'm called the common man with common sense. But in this moment, as always, I am above all else your host. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. And we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you would not mind, please do me some favors. And hold on, I've got to do you guys a favor real quick. One moment, please. Gotta kill some sunlight, or at least keep it from totally blocking out my beautiful face so you guys can see it. There we go. Okay, that's better. Anyway, do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do so. Number two, if you got a friend that wants to be subscribed to this channel, by George, help them out. Help them get to this channel. Number three, hit the thumbs up button. Leave a comment in chat. Oh my god. What? Wait a minute. Yes, it did help. Now you can see my face. Oh, wait a minute. You're trying to, I see what you're doing. Anyway, do all those things you guys normally do, because we have got a packed, and I mean packed, show for a lot of reasons. I don't even know if we're going to get to all of it. We are packed with memes. We are packed with stories. At 11:30, at Kit Cabello from Hardlens Media is going to stop by to give us an update on what's going on in Chicago, because I got all kinds of questions for him, and it's always a good time to get to. If you're not following Hardlens Media on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter, you're nuts. You're really nuts. Kit Cabello does an absolutely fantastic live stream. He'll be here at 11:30 to give us an update on Chicago. But like I said, we got stories. We got memes. Holy cow, have we got memes. I don't know what got into WWG1, TBA, Salty Old Fart. They've given me so many memes. I could do a whole 2-hour show just on the memes. And bless their hearts, gentlemen, here's what I'm going to do as host. I have got every one of your memes. It's either up on the screen or I've got saved for Tuesday. So we're going to do our best. Oh, brother, you ain't kidding about that. I got out my arse. What do you mean just a few? Good Lord. I mean, literally, folks, I'm not kidding about this. Those three cats have given me so many memes. I could literally do an hour and a half just on the memes. And because of the constraints of what we're going to try and do today, I can't necessarily do it. We're going to do some, but I can't do them all. So, gentlemen, you have my word as the host. They're going to get used over the next 2-3 broadcasts for sure. But I mean, I'm literally grabbing memes and I'm either throwing them up on the screen or I'm throwing them into a Word document and be like, oh my God. I mean, like I said, I don't know what they put in their Cheerios this morning when they ate them, but I tell you what, they went nuts. Well, yeah, probably will. It probably will teach me to cancel a show. But anyway, well, and that's a possibility too. So, but I said I'd give my word. My word is given. They will get used. Anyway, all right, let's dive right in. Because like I said, we got a lot to do. We got a guest coming on at 11:30. Question for you guys. How do you know when a fish, or maybe it's better to say, how do you know when a fish becomes intoxicated? Or maybe it's better to say when a fish gets high. Well, seaweed, ladies and gentlemen. How do you get a fish high? It's real simple. Seaweed, because, you know, that the fish, he gets high like that. Just never mind. Okay. All right. And yes, I got to say some hellos to some people. Hang on a minute. WWG1, TBA, and Salty. We know you three are here. Good God, do we know you're here? Who else is here in the house I need to say hello to? Good morning, Lana. You gorgeous thing, you. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I saw the Highness is in the house. Oh, you good looking thing, you. Let's see. Who else be here? I thought I saw her. Hello, Gypsy, you gorgeous thing, you. And yes, I got a couple things lined up for you. If time allows it, we get to it. Believe me, we're definitely bringing those items up. I think that covers about everybody. All right, let's keep on moving here. You know, it's amazing when we become red pilled. That moment when we realize that all the things that we've been told just so are not true, really not true. And when it comes to the education system in America, you kind of got to wonder, what is that moment that you realize this is a crock? When's that moment that you realize, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this whole thing's a fake? Well, I think for a lot of us, is this moment right here. And we knew education was a scam when your business teacher didn't own a business and your PE teacher was fat. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure that is so absolutely true. That is so absolutely true. Yeah, buddy. Anyway, in life, sometimes you just need a bodyguard. That's just the truth. I mean, nature, I think, deems it that way. The strong will always prey, the bigger will always prey on the smaller. But sometimes God gives you a bodyguard. You don't believe me? Check this out. Totally true. Totally true. Oh, good news, ladies and gentlemen. Good news indeed. A scientific journal recently came out and said that the humpback whale population around the world is now back up to a very respectable level. I mean, I think at one point it was down to I think the journal said it was like 450 humpback whales worldwide, and now it's up to over 25,000. And a group of individuals have written a 2-word response to this. And as a matter of fact, I think we've got it right here. In response to the news that humpback whales, the population of them has now increased to over 25,000 worldwide, the group says, "You're welcome." And on this one, if you know, you know. That's all I'm saying. Live long and prosper. All right. What else do we have in the way of the merry memes this morning? Oh, yes. I haven't really talked that much about it, but I really should. And that is the New York City mayor's race. And people, I mean, look, it's probably a foregone conclusion at this point that, Zohan Mamdani is going to become the next mayor of New York. But that sort of begs the question. What is New York going to be like when Zamdani becomes mayor? Well, some people have an idea of what certain aspects of New York culture will be like. If you happen to go out to a gentleman's club, don't be surprised in the future if in New York City, this is the sight that you are treated to. I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I don't know about you guys, but this doesn't give me a whole lot of incentive to start throwing around dollar bills. Okay. I could be wrong, but this might be a way to, this might be a good way for all men, in New York City to start saving money. Goodness. Well, going back to that meme about education, Lana says, well, for me, becoming red pilled, it was working for a health insurance company. Whoa. Oh, that's just sad. That is sad. Yeah, it is a depressing thought that that guy's going to become. And matter of fact, when Kit gets on here, if you think things are bad in New York City right now, I got some Chicago questions that I want to ask him about. And definitely I want to get into with him. So you know how that goes. One moment, please. Okay, there we go. Just had to find something here. All right, Salty. Wait a minute, Salty. What have you done? You're shooting that too salty. Sorry, WWG1. Anyway, moving along with our merry memes. Now, did you guys happen to hear about the reporter who had the temerity? Thank you, sir. I caught myself before I made a mistake. Thank you. Did you guys happen to hear about the reporter who had the nerve to actually do drive-by journalism on Nancy Pelosi? Now, if you guys haven't seen this yet, there was a reporter, and I think she works for Mike Lindell's network. Yeah, you didn't know Mike Lindell had a network. But yeah, she works for Mike Lindell in some capacity or another, or in some connection. And she had an exchange with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Now, if you haven't seen it, I will show it to you. Now, do me a favor, as always, let me know if the sound is good. But here's the exchange that went down between Nancy Pelosi and this young reporter. Do me a favor and check this out.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Now, that was the exchange, okay? That was the exchange between Nancy and this reporter. Well, what is not widely known, and by the way, I love the smirk on this girl's face because she knows she got to Pelosi. And I think that's great. Now, what is not widely known is the fact that there were other questions that were asked, but apparently they got edited out. Well, either because of her age or because of her intoxication level. It's one of the two, Gypsy. I don't know which one it is. But anyway, oh, by the way, did you guys see what happened to McConnell the other day? This is a total side note, and I do not even have it pulled up. I didn't have anything prepared for it. But did you guys see what happened to McConnell? He's walking through the halls of Congress with one of his aides, and there's a reporter right there. They got a camera on him, as you might expect, because it's Mitch McConnell. And bless his heart, the poor man just fell over. I mean, as far as I could tell, there were no obstructions in front of him. It's not like he had to, negotiate some fancy footwork. He just fell down. I mean, look, I disagree with McConnell on so many different things, but, I am glad that man's retiring. For his own, and I'm serious about this, for his own physical safety, I'm glad he's getting out. But anyway, going back to this exchange between this reporter and Pelosi, there were other questions that were asked of Nancy Pelosi, and we managed to get our hands on the tape. So here's what you didn't see asked of Nancy Pelosi.
Congresswoman, how are your trades now that you can't get insider information? Is it true you've been drinking more vodka lately? Why do your boobs look like sandbags? Is your husband still having an affair with the hammer guy? And why are you dressed like a leprechaun? Have you found your pot of gold yet?
Shut up. I'm 200 fucking years old. You try walking around with a pair of sandbags, and yes, my husband is fucking the hammer guy. That's why I'm drunk.
American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. See, it's this kind of hard-hitting journalism that we never get enough of in America. So yeah, we I just thought for the sake of being true to my audience, I would bring you an account of what really happened between Pelosi and this reporter. I just thought you'd want to know. Good morning, Patty. How you doing, darling? There you go. All right. What else have we got? Okay, that takes care of the memes. Now, gentlemen, WWG1, Salty, TBA, my word to you, every meme you gave me is going to get used. As soon as I can get them up on the screen, because like I said, and by the way, in all seriousness, God bless you, boys. Yeah, really. God bless you, boys. For every meme you went in. Like I said, I don't know what they put in your Cheerios or your whiskey, but you guys went nuts. And Lord have mercy. No. I'll find a way to make them useful. Don't you worry about that, TBA. I've got just enough sense. I have just enough of a warped sense of humor that I'll find a way to make those No Kings memes useful, which, by the way, we're not totally done with all the memes either. I've tried to intermix them throughout some of the stories we're going to be talking about. So hang tight, kids. We've got some other memes upcoming in the show. I didn't want to totally short shift my boys. So we're going to try and work them in here in the show. But what doesn't get used today is going to get used next week. I give you my word. Anyway, let's dive right in. First story of the morning. Okay, folks, it's official. It's on. Yeah, you got that right. No meme left behind. No meme left behind. That's right. It's official and it's on. Trump and Putin are meeting. Got a story here from Axios. Headline: Trump says he and Putin will hold second summit on Ukraine in Budapest. Article by Barak Ravid. We have the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. President Trump announced following a call with Vladimir Putin on Thursday that he and the Russian leader had agreed to meet in Hungary in the coming weeks to discuss how to end the war in Ukraine. The 2-hour phone call, which, by the way, I've heard it was more like 2+, took place a day before Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. Trump and Zelensky will discuss the possibility of Ukraine receiving Tomahawk long-range missiles. Trump and Putin made no tangible progress toward peace during a previous summit in Alaska in August. I'm not so sure I agree with that. While Trump tried to arrange a follow-up summit between Putin and Zelensky, Putin has declined to hold one. Again, I'm not sure I agree with that. Putin said at a press conference later on Thursday that the meeting will happen in the next 2 weeks. Trump said in a lighthearted way he asked Putin whether he'd mind sending a couple of thousand Tomahawks and suggested to Putin asked him not to. All right. Now, some things. Well, you know what? Let's just get into this right now. WWG1 has brought up the question, heard a rumor that Dr. Robin McCutcheon, yes. I will go ahead and address this rumor right now. That is not a rumor. That is a confirmed fact. This coming Wednesday night, 7 p.m., the good doctor, the unofficially official economist of the Electronic Front Porch, is going to stop by for a visit because with everything going on economically, be it here at home or around the world, at the suggestion of some of the viewers, I have come to the conclusion, yeah, now's a good time to have her on. So, yeah, we need to talk about some things. So put it on your calendars, and hopefully y'all can join us. 7 o'clock this Wednesday night. Dr. Robin McCutcheon, economist of note and economist extraordinaire, will be on the Electronic Front Porch for a chat. Now, going back to this story about the upcoming summit in Hungary, I agree with Gypsy. This is a great place to have it. Let's talk about this thing. This phone call by Washington, D.C. standards came up out of the blue. Let me rephrase that. The press did not have any kind of an inkling that this was coming. It just gets announced on Truth Social. Oh, by the way, I'm having a phone call with Putin to let you know what he says. Everybody's going, what the what? And by the way, let me also make this recommendation to you. I had a good listen to the boys from the Duran. and they had a whole live stream on this very subject. Give me 1 second here because I want
All right, Alexander, let's talk about
hands. Because let me tell you something. This is I won't say one of the best videos they've ever done, but oh my gosh, this thing is good. And I'm going to really recommend you listen to this. All right, I just dropped it on the Rumble side. Now I'm going to drop it on the YouTube side. No, not Duran, you lunatic. Anyway, howdy, Robert. Glad to have you in the audience this morning. The boys from the Duran had a really good take on this, and to understand the background of everything that led up to this call, I really recommend you take the time to listen to this. I mean, if you're doing house chores around the house, put your earbuds in. This is one of the better ones that Alex and Alexander put together. So nobody really knew this phone call between Putin and Trump was going to take place. Okay. Nobody had any idea it was coming. They talked for 2+ hours. Trump, at least according to reports that I understand, normally Trump, well, let me back up a second. The first meeting took place in Alaska. The choice of venue was the American president. Now, under normal circumstances, diplomatically, the choice would go to Putin about where to meet next. For whatever reason, that didn't happen here, according to reports. Trump made the suggestion of Hungary. Putin said, sounds good, let's do it. That is leading some people, particularly the boys from the Duran, to speculate. They just wonder, and by the way, I don't necessarily disagree with this assessment, how much the president of Hungary, Viktor Orban, has sort of been working both sides. In other words, he's talking to Trump. Viktor Orban's talking to Putin. Viktor Orban goes back to Trump. How much of a bridge is Viktor Orban serving between Trump and Putin to try to get some kind of a peace deal done here? If that is the case, then the choice of Hungary for the summit makes sense. Both world leaders are like, okay, look, if we're going to talk any place in Europe, Hungary makes sense. We both like Viktor Orban. He'll do us right. He'll do right by both of us. Let's go somewhere that we both feel comfortable. Let's sit down and see if we can talk this thing out. Now, what do I think is going to happen out of this summit? I have no idea. Could this maybe be one of the last best chances to try to end this war before it gets worse? Yeah, I think that's the case. Now, what do I mean by get worse? I mean, we are probably that far from a full-on nuclear conflict. If Trump goes ahead and gives Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, the Ukrainians won't be the ones operating the missiles. It'll be us. It'll be our equipment. Now, we might use NATO proxies or whatever, but it's going to be us. We're going to be the ones launching this stuff because the Ukrainians do not have the smarts or the wherewithal to be able to launch an American missile system. They got to have our people doing it. The Russians will look at that and go, screw this. We're not putting up with it anymore. I mean, we're that close to a much wider conflict than what we've got. This may be one of the last best chances we get to see this thing end before it gets way worse. And that's my prayer. So, folks, you guys know me as general overall, I love peace. But by all means, if you can do it, and if you're inclined to do it, pray leading up to this summit. Pray that Trump's got his head screwed on straight. Pray also that he doesn't listen to Lindsey Graham or General Kellogg, the people who've been advising him on Ukraine up to this point. And pray that Putin and his people can get through to Trump and make him realize, dude, you're being fed a line of BS here. So let's see what happens. But in the meanwhile, Zelensky stopped by the White House on Friday, and that was fairly amusing. Let me find it here real fast. Hang on. Oh, where is it? Where did it go? Daggone it. I had this beautiful thing set up. Now it's gone. Crap. Zelensky stopped by the White House. Well, and that's kind of my thought in the matter. Let him have it. That's true. That's more or less what he told Zelensky the other day. Matter of fact, have I got that story from Reuters? Hang on a minute. Yeah, that's more or less what he told him. I thought I had a definitive statement on it in that Reuters story, but apparently not so much. Anyway. Yeah, that was great. If you don't know what Gypsy's referring to, the great opera singer Andrea Bocelli stopped by the White House the other day. And Trump, I mean, for whatever else you may say about him, is a fan of opera. Well, he made Zelensky wait until Andrea Bocelli did some singing in the Oval Office. I thought this was great. I thought it was great. Yeah, and this is a good point, too, going back to what Salty said. The eastern part of Ukraine is made up of people who want to be part of Russia. They speak Russian. They've got heritage with Russians. Yeah, let Putin have it. Well, but he'll conquer the rest of Europe. He'll use Ukraine as a staging ground. Dude, if he wanted to conquer Europe, he's had the army and the munitions to do it with for years. Don't you think he would have done it by now? Seriously. This was never about some kind of rebuilding of the old Soviet Union. Stop listening to neocon talking points, okay? But Zelensky stopped by the White House, and basically he got told, nope, no tomahawks. We need them here in the United States. To which I'm thinking, okay, that's a good start. So, folks, yeah, exactly. If Putin wanted to take Europe, he would have already done it. He's got the manpower and the munitions. The Europeans don't have it. So, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, pray. Well, there was one other piece of news that came out of Zelensky's meeting with Trump. And when he was speaking with reporters outside the White House, Zelensky gave a statement about what he was asking for. And here's what he had to say.
Well, first, I asked President Trump if he can give me a little money. I need a little money to buy a little bit of cocaine, just a little bit. He's saying no to the money, so I asked President for a little bit of cocaine. Maybe the little bag Hunter left in White House locker. He say no. So I asked if he can give me missiles so I can sell them and get a little bit of cocaine, and he say no again. So now I go to Europe to see if they have a little bit of cocaine. Thank you. Wait, any of you have a little bit of cocaine?
Folks, that appears to be Zelensky's desire above all else. We have a little bit of cocaine. So, yeah, we had that happen. Now, among other things going on in the news, get ready, folks. John Bolton has been indicted. And when you read what he's been indicted for, again, it's not proof that anything, we don't know what's going to happen yet. That's a great nickname for him, the Eastern Bloc Short Round. That's great. I heard, I think it was Ben Harnwell had a great nick. I mean, when I heard this nickname, I literally laughed out loud. He said, the psychotic Oompa Loompa. That's his nickname for Zelensky, the psychotic Oompa Loompa. And I thought, yeah, it's really good. Anyway, John Bolton has been indicted. As a matter of fact, when he was asked the question, sir, did you retain any classified documents? Well, here's what his statement to the press. Oh my gosh, he's got he got documents coming out everywhere. Holy cow! Oh my goodness, he's just burping them up there. That's just crazy. But oh yeah. So in a more serious tone, what is it that is going on here? Well, here's from our friends at NBC News. Headline: John Bolton pleads not guilty to charges of mishandling classified information. The former national security advisor for Trump made his initial court appearance on federal charges Friday morning. Article by Victoria Ebner, Rebecca Shabad, Michael Koznar, Chloe Atkins, and Peter Alexander. We got the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C., John Bolton, who served as national security advisor during Donald Trump's first term before becoming a critic of the president, pleaded not guilty on Friday to charges of mishandling classified information. Hey, have you noticed something? Have you noticed that the press, anytime these things come up, Letitia James, James Comey, now John Bolton, have you noticed how the press describes the person as a critic of President Trump? Call me crazy, but I think that's just a little bit more than a coinky-dink. Why do I get the feeling the press is trying to slant the perception of the news public to believe that these folks are being singled out only because they're a critic of Donald Trump? Don't know about that one. But anyway, back to the story. A federal grand jury in Maryland charged Bolton Thursday with 8 counts of transmission of national defense information and 10 counts of unlawful retention of said information. He faces up to 10 years in prison, a $250,000 fine per count, and 3 years of special release. Prosecutors allege the former national security advisor transmitted national defense information using his personal email or a messaging application to send sensitive documents classified as top secret. The documents allegedly revealed intelligence about future attacks, foreign adversaries, and foreign policy relations. Yeah, buddy. I think you're both right about this. Yeah, agreed. Agreed totally. Now, you say that context matters, and Salty, I agree with you totally. And by the way, Dave H., welcome in, my friend. Good to have you on the porch this morning. So, what exactly is going on here? Can we get somebody to give us a breakdown of what's happened? Well, enter Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project, and probably one of the best, I shouldn't say one of the best, he is. He's one of the best folks when it comes to judicial matters. Not saying he's always right, but he's usually got a pretty good take about the actual facts in question. Well, if you really want a really good breakdown of what's going on here, do me a favor and check out Mike Davis's take on the whole thing.
Natalie, it's out of the District of Maryland. The U.S. Attorney
And by the way, let me know if the sound is coming through okay. I know that's a little bit low, but we'll see. That'll help. Okay, let me know if the sound is coming through okay.
District of Maryland is a career federal prosecutor. They worked with the National Security Division and Main Justice. There are several career attorneys' names on this indictment. So this is not a political indictment, and it's a very serious indictment. You're looking at 18 different counts against John Bolton. I think 8 of them were for transmitting national defense information. That means he was sending national defense information apparently through his AOL accounts or his personal email accounts, and then they got him for 10 counts of retaining national defense information. These are very serious espionage charges, and what's so damning for John Bolton in this indictment is they go through in this indictment to show his knowledge and intent. They go through and quote John Bolton in the past for when he's talked about how doing the very things he allegedly did here is a very serious national security crime, espionage, and they go through these documents, and some of these documents are top secret with code names. So these are beyond top secret documents, for as far as I can tell, from his time as the president's national security advisor. So he had access to some of the most classified information in all of our governments, and he's sending it via personal email, and he's retaining it. So you're not going to be able to say this is a political case here with the career prosecutors in the District of Maryland, the career prosecutors at Main Justice, and the National Security Division, and just the magnitude of the number of classified documents, highly classified documents that he sent and that he retained. He's in a very deep hole, and it looks like John Bolton, if these allegations are true, he's going to go to prison for a very long time.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I am no lawyer, never claimed to be, but if Mike Davis is right, and again, I have not read the indictment, I'm kind of relying on other people here, but if that indictment is as solid as everybody thinks it is, his goose is cooked. And I saw something in the chat a moment ago, and I want to see if I can find this real fast, because Gypsy, as always, brings up a very salient point. And I will show you what it was she said here momentarily if I can find. Oh, please tell me. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Thank God. Yeah, Gypsy made a really good point. Bolton called for Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Chelsea Manning to be executed under the Espionage Act. So now, if you're wondering what we're talking about, I've got the clip. It's somebody put this together on Twitter. It's really kind of amazing in moments like this when someone like a John Bolton is charged, and then you go back and you listen and read his statements that he's made about what ought to happen to other people. Talk about being hoisted by your own petard. If you're wondering what Gypsy's referring to, check this out.
He gets to the United States, he'll get due process here. And I hope he gets at least 176 years in jail for what he did. I'm not bothered by the death penalty in this country, and I think crimes like espionage that harm the security and the safety of innocent American civilians deserves the strictest punishment. My view is that Snowden committed treason. He ought to be convicted of that, and then he ought to swing from a tall oak tree. Well, he should be prosecuted, and if he's found guilty, he should be punished to the fullest extent possible.
And what is that?
Death.
You think he should be killed?
Yes.
Yeah, Johnny boy, be very careful what you ask for, because you got it. Yeah, I think she sure has. Karma got herself a new girlfriend. Yeah. This man was called. Hey, keep in mind, Snowden, Assange, Manning, all brought up on charges of violation of the Espionage Act. And then you got John Bolton out there be like, well, by God, they ought to swing from a tall tree. Yeah, be very careful what you wish for, John, because you just might get it. And you might be the one receiving it. Yeah, it's really something interesting. Something interesting indeed. So and again, Comey, Letitia James, Bolton. Can I sit here and guarantee you that they're all going to be found guilty and they're all going to prison? No, but indictments are being handed out. The attempt at trying to see these people receive justice is being met. It's my prayer that they receive a fair trial, as I pray that for everybody. And my prayer also is this: if they're found guilty by a jury of their peers, may they get that which they may they get that which they deserve. May they receive that which they so richly deserve. So there you go. Oh, all right. Well, before we get to our next story, we do have a commercial we have to play. The electronic front porch has a new advertiser, and this is their very first time running a commercial on my live stream. So, folks, I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. Check this out.
No King's Day Sale-a-thon! Must have COVID shot, proof of girl and boy sport to qualify. Hola amigos! 4999! Free financing, housing, food IDs, and registration to vote! We've got a fire sale right now on this broken down California fire equipment. I'm gerrymandering, and I've got a great deal on this classic Prop 50 Wagoneer.
You know, I don't know who did the commercials for these guys, but I'll tell you what, that was pretty good stuff. Yeah, so there you go. Newscomb Auto Sales. If you're looking for the real deal, check those guys out. They'll really help you out. Oh, well, they really help you out. They'll help you out of your money. Anyway, a little bit of facetiousness to set up our next segment. The No Kangs rally is today around the country. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Every favorite Antifa and commie, shall we say, mentally challenged person is about to take to the streets. As a matter of fact, they're being led by no less than former Vice President Kamala Harris. We have a message from her to all the folks attending the No Kangs rally. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from our former Vice President, codename Idaho.
Hey everybody, so in our country, the power is with the people. And tomorrow, I encourage everyone to get out there in peaceful protest of what is happening in our country and express our voice around the country we believe in. So get out there and join the No Kings event near you. And please take care. I'll see you later.
Yeah. All right. We've heard from the former vice president. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're hearing from her. No Kangs. No Kangs indeed. Matter of fact, they're lining the streets right now. We got some pictures all across this country, from Boston to Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Charlotte, everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. The No Kangs folks are out. Matter of fact, here's a picture of them lining up. Yeah, that's a truly ugly. Oh my God. Oh, mercy me. Oh, goodness. That's thank God I ate breakfast way earlier than before I looked at that picture. Ugh. Now, you know, it's funny you bring this up, Lana. Funny you bring this up indeed, because we're going to get to some response to all this. Matter of fact, not only are you seeing these folks lined up on the streets, you're seeing them driving around in cars. As a matter of fact, we even got a picture of that. Yeah, here's somebody yelling out the window, "No Kangs Day, 10/18/25." And there's some guys on the sidewalk are like, "What do you say?" Something about brain damage. Well, did he hear it correctly? I don't know. Maybe he did. I'll let you decide. But anyway. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, we've even got some more pictures from these protests. Matter of fact, well, wait a minute. This one just came in. And I got to thank Salty Old Fart for this one. We have some pictures of the No Kangs folks. Matter of fact, here's one of them now. And I should warn you folks, just be prepared when you see this. Here's one of the protesters from the No Kangs rally. Whee! Oh boy. No Kangs? No, I say no soap and water. Go wash your face. You're going to make your mom ashamed of you going out in public looking like that. What the hell is the matter with you? Jeez, wash that stuff off your face. Get a haircut and a real job while you're at it. Ah, Lord. Next rally. Oh, jeez. Y'all are brutal. Dearheart, I don't disagree with you at all. I think you're absolutely right. Totally right. So yeah, totally right. It's terrible, genuinely terrible. I mean, it makes not an ounce of sense whatsoever. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are kind of in their own way protesting this whole No Kangs rally. And they're coming up with their own unique signage. For example, normal people are being asked to stay at home. So, oh, jeez. Oh, Robert. Oh, now, good grief, sir. How untoward. How untoward. But funny. Very funny indeed. Keep it up, good. Keep it up, young man. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And you know what? You know what? Somebody had a really good take on this, and talk about being fed up. I found before we came on this morning, I found a really good video that kind of sums up why most folks like you and I are just sitting there going, "Are you guys crazy? Are you guys absolutely crazy?" And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, do me a favor and check this out, ladies and gentlemen.
So are you accidentally stupid, or are you stupid on purpose? Because the only reason you...
Well, normally it's because I'm accidentally stupid. I do my best to avoid being purposely stupid, but please go right ahead.
Would go to a No Kings protest in 2025 is if you were stupid enough to believe that America had kings, not realizing that your very participation in this event that is not being shut down by the one person who you claim is a king invalidates the entirety of your argument.
Now, I gotta stop it right there, because I tell you what, I don't know who this gentleman is, but he makes an absolutely fabulous point, and it's this. If we had a king in this country, okay, if we had a king like these No Kangs protesters are out there saying, the Kang could get up and go, "I want these protests shut down. Send out the police. Shut them down. Don't even let them protest." The fact that they get to engage in free speech, protesting a supposed Kang in this country, ought to tell you we don't have kings in America. He's right. The fact that they're actually even allowed to protest on the streets, exercising their right to free speech under the First Amendment, is proof we don't have a king. And that is an absolutely great point he makes. All right, let's go back to the video.
See, this is all these people know how to do anymore. All y'all want to do is go out and be part of some protest, right? It doesn't accomplish anything? No, it never does. It makes you feel good for a few hours. Y'all rally around, "Oh, this is going to be the biggest uprising." What are you going to do? Nothing. You don't have any demands, because No Kings is already a thing, right? It's called Independence Day. We have one of those already. Oh, you don't celebrate that either, do you? Yep, that tracks. That sounds about right. So anybody who's going out there to be part of this No Kings protest, just know all you're really doing at the end of the day is playing yourself and showing your ignorance. So go ahead, be a part of this No Kings protest if you want to. It's a free country, you can do what you want, but don't be surprised if people are laughing at you for it.
I can't argue with any of that. I mean, can someone please explain to me what it is? And I'm serious about this. I'm genuinely serious. Can somebody explain to me what it is that the No Kings protesters want? I mean, I got a strong suspicion I know what it is, but I mean, seriously, for you folks out there on Rumble, for you folks out there on Twitter, you folks out there on YouTube, what is it that these people want? Does anybody understand what their stated goals are? Well, I know they got a case of that, Patty. That's goes without saying. But what do they really want? I mean, I got a story here from NPR. Matter of fact, hang on a minute. Let me pop this up on screen. to try to get to the bottom of this. This is from NPR. No Kings organizers project a massive turnout for this weekend's protest. Article by Alana Wise. Quote, the purpose here is to stand in solidarity, to organize, to defend our democracy and protect each other in our communities, and just say enough is enough. We've been watching the Trump administration's abuses of power, and millions took to the streets in June. Hey, I have a question, Miss Lisa Gilbert, co-founder of Public Citizen. If these are such abuses of power, how come the courts are backing him up? Why is it that when, through appeals, this gets to a court, the court says, yeah, he's got the constitutional power to do these things? If these are abuses of power, why aren't they being stopped stone cold dead? No, instead what happens is a court starts realizing, yeah, actually he does have the power to do this. Here's the Constitution. Here's where it says he has the power to do it. WWG1 says, propaganda works. Most people are led by their emotions. They don't think. They don't know what they want. Well, yeah, that's the truth. They only go on feelings. Totally true indeed. Totally true indeed. So yeah, the No Kangs rally is on for today, for whatever that's worth. All right. Well, I see our guest is in the background. Brother, do me a favor. If you're good to go, give me a thumbs up. Let me know when I can bring you in. All right. I'm getting 2 thumbs up from my guest in the background. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and bring him on. I have been reaching out to various people because of what's been going on around the country, be it out in Portland or in this case this morning. Well, not just this morning. This morning, we're going to look at Chicago, and we're bringing back to the electronic front porch for this session of Front Porch Brunch, a friend of the channel. He is a content creator in his own right. He is the proprietor and organizer and operator of Hardlands Media. A genuinely cool dude. And if you want a good take about what's going on in the Windy City, you need to subscribe to this guy on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Rumble. Anywhere this guy's got a channel, give him a sub. Because honestly, if you really want a good take about what's going on in his city, this is the cat you need to listen to. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the electronic front porch our good friend Kit Cabello from Hardlands Media.
All right. Hi. Thank you for the privilege of being on your show, my friend.
No sound. Can't hear you.
Oh, my goodness. No
Wait a minute.
sound. Okay, hold on. Test.
Cannot. You just muted. Hello. Say something.
All right, hang on.
You hear? Oh, hey, you hear him fine.
Oh, people can hear me.
We can. All right. Everybody in the audience can hear you.
You just can't hear me.
Blind as a bat here for some reason. Hang on. Something's going on.
Okay.
What is this? What is this nonsense? Everybody can hear him. Okay. Apparently it's me. Well, okay. This is not unusual. Wait a minute. You might be right. Hang on a second.
All good. So for everyone, if we can at least get a 5x5
whoa,
here.
Whoa. Hang on. Okay. Talk to me, brother.
5x5. Can you hear me?
5x5 and 5x5. How you doing, brother?
It is very good. Personal, like taking care of my health, taking care of, business as usual, and trying to keep an eye out what's happening here in the city of Chicago. And, it's never an easy day, but that was never promised to all of us, but you take it one day at a time.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Dude, I am so glad you came on here this morning because, like I said, I told my audience earlier, I've been reaching out to various people around the country where all this crazy is going on. And, because look, I can read the news. I can look at pictures. I can see whatever. I need to talk to people who are on the ground. I need to talk to people who are part of the heartbeat of what is happening with the story. And since you've covered Chicago for so many years, you're a natural fit for this situation. So I thank you. And on behalf of the audience, thank you for making time to come on this morning and talk about. So, let's just dive right in. Okay, we got federal troops. Some federal troops are being held up because of court orders. We got
That's correct.
Federal troops guarding certain places. We got the governor out there trying to stop the federal troops. We got Brandon Johnson running his mouth for what that's worth. You tell us, what is the current state of things in Chicago as it relates to federal intervention?
Well, it's a powder keg that's ready to blow up. I mean, it's easy to say, well, what's happening now? This happened now. This happened now. You have to rewind back the clocks a little bit. When it comes down to Chicago, remember, when Trump got elected, it really shocked a lot of people to their core because they felt in 2016, because everyone felt that Hillary Clinton had it in the bag, but the Democrats didn't understand overall the anger that was, being fueled during that election year. I think we all should remember it and reflect on it greatly, as it was a pivotal point in electoral politics. So looking at that point in time when Trump was in office during those 4 years, everyone wanted to have the one-upsmanship and the feel-good points of, oh, I'm a better person. Case in point, the creation of the sanctuary cities, which, we asked, many of these activists and organizers early on when Harlan's Media was on radio, do we have a plan? Can we take care of these people? And I've asked this to organizers and candidates that were running for aldermanic seats, people who were trying to be a movement for change. And I got 3 answers. It's either we can do it, but there was no plan. Later on, we found out that there was no plan. 2, being called either racist or bigoted or secret Trump supporters, which I'm an independent. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican or, anything of this nature. But I mean, look, I understand the appeal of Trump and I understand the appeal of voting Democrat. But, again, being called these names, okay, fine, whatever. And then, of course, finally, there's the option of, you better believe it, just nobody speaking to me at all, period. So when the sanctuary cities came into existence, there was never really the thought of, well, can we afford these shelters? How are these shelters being built? What's happening to the communities, especially in the South and West Side neighborhoods, that, all these migrants are being flushed into, because that's where the aldermen pushed them into. That's what these Chicago politicians did. And of course, with Lightfoot then being defeated later on, Brandon Johnson, of course, getting on his pedestal, what happened to the Democrats? Well, we all remember when the Texas governor and the Florida governor were starting to migrate and bus and fly and push people into sanctuary cities, not only Chicago, and we had this huge influx of people moving into these cities in which these sanctuary cities were never prepared for. And then we have to look at the squalor conditions. Look, I really feel sorry for a lot of these kids that went through this arduous march to come to this country, but promises were made and these people were being used as pawns by politicians on both sides. And it's causing further suffering, which then in turn caused huge confrontations in City Hall in Chicago, which eventually led to 2 districts on November 5th, 2024, to flip red because of the anger towards the Democrats. We could pull up all these videos. Now, some of these videos you might have to censor because there's a lot of swearing towards Mayor Brandon Johnson, but it's coming from the Black community, angry because you have migrants coming in. Now, I don't blame the migrants, but I blame the politicians making these big, lofty promises that were never going to be fulfilled. And of course, you have activists and organizers now who are upset at seeing ICE come in and these raids happening. Well, they did this in February earlier this year, and people are forgetting that happened with Dr. Phil. He was with Tom Homan. Dr. Phil were here in Chicago in February 2025. So those operations took place. And now we're at this point in time, starting from August, September, and now into October, where you have ICE agents conducting raids in Chicago. You have Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker instigating, refusing to sit down with Trump. Trump likewise was his administration doing his own plan. And this is a direct challenge towards a city that is predominantly known as the Democrat machine. Of course, when you have the machine at its weakest, this is the perfect time to challenge it politically. I have never seen a point in time to where anything that can go wrong will go wrong, because I blame both sides in this, because you have the mayor constantly challenging Trump. You have Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is potentially slated as being a 2028 contender for the Democrat primary. And then, of course, you have ICE coming in. And already there's a couple of videos of ICE and their questionable ways of detaining people. You have the incident that took place at 63rd and Cosner. Then you have another one that took place on the southeast side neighborhood of Chicago, where They're not doing proper crowd control, and you're causing residents to get angry. Everyone's angry and confused, and no one knows really what's going to happen tomorrow because of the lack of the key thing that's needed right now in this city, and that is leadership. You don't have the leadership. Now, when I was on Jimmy Dore's show, I was mentioning to Jimmy before the big kind of confrontation in which ICE was tear gassing Chicago residents. I told Jimmy, if Trump really wants to stop Chicago or stop Chicago crime, the incidence of criminality, go to City Hall, because that's where the criminality is at. Chicago is known for its corruption. And if you're not going to, really be serious on addressing the main root cause, you could have troops. You could bring in 300, 3,000, 30,000 troops. Sooner or later, everyone's got to go home. The problem isn't only on the street corners. It goes where the beating heart is at, and that is corruption. When you have a lack of jobs, schools being shut down, mental health facilities being shut down, lack of investment, which is done on purpose. I'm going to say that again, done on purpose for a city that is hyper-segregated. If everyone looks at how Chicago is designed, it's always been designed to be a divided city, not just north and south side, but even from within those own districts too. And this is the unfortunate spot we are in. So what do I see happening a few weeks from now down the road? I see more of the same. I see ICE continue its operations, and eventually, every court order, it's a piece of paper. You have to enforce it. But I do see it getting to the point where Trump will bring in the National Guard. There was a point where it wasn't going to happen, and now here we are, where we're looking at potentially 300 National Guardsmen from Texas coming in here, and that number could rise up because this is a fight. And Trump, I gave this warning, all the legal troubles that he was facing off against in 2024, I told everyone, even some of my nearest and dearest, that if these I's aren't dotted, these T's aren't crossed, if these prosecutors aren't squeaky clean, you better believe that he's going to come back with a vengeance and make sure that people are going to be held accountable. And what are we seeing? A lot of these people that were prosecuting Trump are now being prosecuted themselves. And we're seeing the city, Chicago, a center of the Democrat machine, being challenged as well. So it's going to be a toe-to-toe slug match. And I don't see any winners. In fact, I see a city that is going to be at a point of no return because there's a lot of people who are afraid. And when you have the Chicago Police Department even indicating, well, we're not going to get involved, we can't stop federal operations. Is Mayor Brandon Johnson purposely trying to put the CPD in between ICE and the protesters? And then in turn, when you have Mayor Brandon Johnson putting out orders saying, well, Chicago properties will not be, or city property will not be used as ICE operations, I made a prediction that no, ICE is going to probably take one of these abandoned buildings in the city of Chicago and they're going to commandeer it. I mean, it's a recipe of I'm going to poke you, and then the other person pokes the other person. And there's no leadership here. And what the city of Chicago needs to do, stop, sit down, talk with the Trump administration, calm this thing down before it gets really out of hand.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And, just from the outside looking in, it's like this, if Portland right now is the other great hotbed. You could argue Los Angeles is the third. But if I've got to rank them by the potential for an explosive situation, I know you love your beloved Chicago, but I got to be totally honest. Chicago is at the top of my list as far as, oh, crap.
Yeah,
this thing's about to break loose, and this is going to get uglier than anybody ever possibly imagined.
It can. Look, when you look at how Chicago's history, especially how it's treated, working class citizens, people of different backgrounds, you have an administration that, at least the Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration, that's not really looking at the overall history of how communities and generations have been living in Chicago, and adding in the migrants now, especially in communities that are already struggling, already hurting. You're going to have people wonder, well, okay, well, when's the investment going to happen for us? When is there going to be opportunities for citizens that have been living here for generations? Because communities are being torn down, gentrification is happening, and I have to ponder and wonder, okay, well, what is the plan? Because overall, there is another bigger issue besides ICE and the protesters and the conflict between them, and that is another thing that's going to have people on edge. This city is $1.1 billion in the hole. A few weeks ago in August, early August, I did a video in regards towards how Mayor Brandon Johnson said, oh, Chicago's finances are on a point of no return. As a leader, as a mayor, you don't really go out there and say that. You know, it doesn't really inspire confidence in me. And then at the same time as well, supposed to take care of communities that are struggling day in, day out. And there's no initiative on really plugging in that hole, that gap of $1.1 billion. I don't see how the mayor's initiatives are going to change anything. And what he's trying to do now, especially going after like big businesses and everything else, I get it, but it's even that's not going to mitigate the pain, because when there are no economic opportunities for regular citizens living in this city, it's going to cause people to get even angrier and angrier. And it's going to become a bigger issue than just migrants and ICE raids. It's going to become, why has the city failed the residents of Chicago? Because are now homeowners and small business owners going to be taxed to death? Because that's what it looks like. It's all going to roll downhill, and that's how you're going to build further resentment. So when you say that, yeah, Chicago is going to be a hotbed in which people are going to get angry, of course, but it's so much bigger than that. And before anyone says, well, Chicagoans, you voted for this, electoral turnout for Chicago has been at an all-time low these past 8 years.
Absolutely.
So, and why is that? It's because it's been beaten out of us. Nobody trusts City Hall because it's so corrupt, which is why I will go ahead and say, if you want to stop criminality, go to City Hall. That should be your first spot. Do the Blues Brothers reenactment. Have them surrounding City Hall and go in there. All right. But obviously you can't, because that's a movie. But in all reality, you have to really look at the bigger picture. And that is, Chicago leadership brought us to this point. Feel good points brought us to this point. And people, migrants, protesters, Chicago Police Department, regular citizens are all going to be caught in the mix. So when I say that Chicago has a potential of being a war zone, yeah, absolutely, politically, and God forbid in the streets.
Yeah.
And if leaders don't step up to stop and talk, there won't be anything left. If we don't take the initiative of actually being calm about this. I understand, what the promises that the Trump administration has made, in regards to its policies. But if you have a hammer in your hand and everything looks like a nail, you're going to build even more hatred and anger from the residents living here, even those that might support ICE or the National Guard coming to Chicago. Because I spoke to people. Hey, how do you feel about ICE patrolling the streets in the downtown area where, you have all the big fancy stores, all the nice fancy restaurants? Would you feel about the National Guard? And I've actually spoke to some people saying, no, I'm for it. I like it. But there's a problem. Is that the norm? Is that what we're going to be expecting in American cities? Humvees and light armored vehicles. I mean, I saw that in Iraq and Baghdad, but I was in the Marine Corps back in the day. I don't think that's really an appropriate situation to normalize in the USA. I mean, if things have gotten that bad, then this is a bigger issue than just left versus right. It's more of, are we going to be under permanent surveillance? Because there's something people need to realize. One day Trump will be out of office. His next successor and the successor of that, what kind of powers or what kind of doors are we opening in which we're forever under a surveillance state, military state? I don't want that. I don't want that in red states. I don't want that in blue states. I don't want that in small towns or big cities. But this is why everyone needs to have all eyes on Chicago in regards to how a lot of these politicians are playing this game. If there is no calmness in this, if there is no real active plan of ending this, and at least having an effective plan in mitigating any kind of crisis, then it's out of our hands, and there will be more conflicts like we saw in 63rd and Cosner, or just like we saw earlier in the weekend.
Oh, I totally agree. And folks, if you're just stopping by or you just found this live stream, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This is Kit Cabello from Hardlands Media. We are having a discussion this morning about what's going on in the city of Chicago. Everybody's reading headlines, federal troops, ICE agents, protests, mayor, governor. It's crazy. We're trying to get to the bottom of it and straighten, or at least get our arms wrapped around what information is real, what's fake, what's not. And like I said, I couldn't think of a better guest to bring on for this. If you have questions for Kit, drop them in chat on YouTube, drop them in chat on Rumble. We'll do our best to put them up there and try and get them answered. Now, to go back to something you said, I found this morning. I heard about this earlier in the week, but half of me says I couldn't believe it, and the other half of me is like, yeah, it's Brandon Johnson. I can absolutely believe it.
Okay,
I got a headline here from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes.
16. The mayor proposes, as you would expect him to do, his budget, $16.6 billion. But there's two components to it that one of them, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I'll get to that in a minute. But there's a tax that he's proposing for cloud-based businesses.
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
Well, obviously, you're using the cloud. Of course, it's online. So hold on. Let's use the big book of words so that people are aware of what that is. So cloud-based businesses. So let's go ahead and do this.
Okay.
Because we all use the cloud, right? So these are companies that use computing to deliver its services or run its operations, which means it's nothing is solid like in a database. It's in the cloud, sort of like physical, and it's on the internet instead of being physical or local hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. So if you are a business and you require nothing physical hard drive and all your information is in the web internet, you can get taxed. I think it's not a brilliant idea. It's like the plastic bag tax or the water tax or the soda tax that they tried to do that failed, but we have a water tax. And so if you buy water, taxed. Plastic bags, you have bags, paper bags too, you're going to get taxed in the city. Nothing but taxation. And they wonder why residents are moving out of Chicago. They want,
No, and the other one that I heard about, and I'll pop this up here, and hopefully, and if I'm not explaining this right, straighten me out. Johnson's proposing a tax. Basically, it goes like this. If you are a business in Chicago and you have 100 or more employees, he wants to do what people are commonly calling a head tax. In other words, for every head in your business, 100 or more, $21 per month just for the fact that you have more than 100 employees. So you figure $21 on 100 people in business, that's like what, $2,100 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's assume that you're a company with thousands of employees, and you're based in Chicago. You're talking about a pretty hefty chunk of change here. Now, in my conservative libertarian economic reaction to that, if I'm a business owner in Chicago, and let's say I have 105 employees, my first thought is, if I just cut this back to like 98 employees, I could get around this little problem. I mean, now everybody can make, and I'm not trying to dump on Chicago. Let me rephrase that. There are a significant number of cities in America operated and run by Democrats or Democrat city councils, etc., that have the reputation for not being the economically smartest people in the world.
I can add a little bit more onto that. We just have a city that's just very, very hungry. All right. And for a long time, you have politicians that are used to getting what they want. People are worried about, Trump running in 2028, which I don't think that's going to happen.
He's not going to do it.
And even if he does, not to sound nihilistic here, and I try and be hopeful as much as I can because I don't want there to be an imperial presidency. I don't. No, never. But it's like, okay, great. Everyone's worried about Trump running for office again. Well, we perfected feudalism already. We have senators in office for what, 20, 30 years? Yep. And in Chicago, well, we're the world heavyweight champions of having monarchs. We had not one but two mayors rule over our city for 20 plus years, father and son. Old Man Daley for 20 plus years and Daley Jr. for 20 plus years. We've had aldermen control their seats for decades, even long before I was born. Okay.
Yeah. And
in turn, when that said alderman or alderwoman, want to be inclusive here, passes away, there have been examples of, going to their son, their daughter, friend of the family, distant cousin. So all this worry about term limits, the thing is, like, we need to have in term limits. And the problem is in Chicago, how our city runs. And there are some good aldermen, to be fair, that care about the city. It's just not enough. And overall, business as usual. Is there a plan? And there's a lot of lofty goals here. And I understand trying to help out everyone, but this city is in a position of the point of no return. When we were $1.1 billion in the hole, the bigger concern is, well, how will this impact the homeowners, the small business owners? Because these bigger corporations, they can get away with certain things. The average person, not so much. And that's the fear a lot of residents have. So we're just almost ending 2025. We still got November and December. And then we go into 2026, which is the midterm election cycle. And you better believe that there's going to be a lot of anticipation and fear and anger and vitriol being built up for the next year. And I'm talking about the next year, 2027, which is our city elections.
Yep.
People are going to have to choose a side. And in my opinion, Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to be a one-term mayor. I don't see how he's going to recover. I don't see how he's going to rebuild his image. He might have ran on the hype of Chicago hosting the Democratic National Convention in 2024, but that has evaporated with everything that's been happening this year and what can happen next year. And overall, the fact that he is not mayor 6%. That is his approval rating. That is even lower than Lightfoot. All right. He is more hated than Lightfoot. And the fact that you could pull that off tells me you're an all-time performer of royally screwing things up. Wow. If you're more hated than Lightfoot, you did that on purpose.
Run that number past me again, because I want to make sure I heard that right.
Mayor 6.6%, but he's now mayor 5%.
That's his approval rating in Chicago?
Yes, as it stands right now. I mean,
Holy
of course, numbers do change and people's opinions and hearts can change. But what cannot be denied is that there is a growing movement of people wanting to break away from the Democrat Party. I mentioned on your show, Jamal Green. He is one of the dauntless few in Chicago that I actually see caring about the city. You asked me, who do I think should run for mayor? Well, he has definitely stepped up, not once, but twice. And it would not be fair for me to say, like, do it again for a third time. But in my opinion, he has shown to be correct, especially when challenging Lightfoot and in turn calling out Mayor Brandon Johnson. He's been calling out the fact that there's a lot of economic insecurity in the city. And the city was not prepared to take care of migrants. When we talk about the migrant situation, he was one of the few to point out the squalor and the lack of humane conditions in some of these shelters. And I think I might have mentioned this on your show. If I'm wrong.
I do remember this. Yeah.
Again, I want to bring up one example. They were going to build a shelter in a community in the south side of Chicago. Now, the residents were upset because no one told them it was going to be built. They were upset about that, number one. But number two, it was the more humane thing. They were telling people, don't build that shelter here because you're building it on a Superfund site. Those people will be exposed to toxins and dangerous materials and heavy metals that no man, woman, or child, young or old, should be exposed to.
Jeez.
So, yeah, and not to mention, there's lead in our drinking water still. So everyone's worried about Flint, Michigan. We're a major metropolitan city. And as it stands, of course, things have changed, but at least early on, if you didn't want to have lead pipes, the city didn't pay for it. You had to fix it.
Yep.
You had to fix it.
Wow. Unbelievable. Well, let me get some questions in here from Lana. What's the balancing point between people who want opportunities for their community and those who oppose any cleanup or gentrification? If you need her to elaborate on that, I'm sure she will in the chat. So
okay, if you want to elaborate on that, fine. But I think what you're trying to say is, like, let's say people want to clean up their communities. Oh, absolutely, I'm for that. I don't want to. I remember seeing a chat when I was talking about crime and telling people telling Trump to go to City Hall instead of just focusing on the streets. Like, I don't want criminals on the street corners. I don't want anyone to be run down or shot up or anything. No, I want schools to be reopened and I want the streets to be clean. The problem is, if you make it unaffordable for people who've been living there for generations, that's a problem, because the beating heart of Chicago isn't our buildings and landmarks. It's the people. I mean, my family's 4 generations deep. My great-grandfather was born here, grandfather, mother, my uncle, my aunt, my brother, myself. We have been born in this city and we want to continue living in this city. Yeah. But if politicians are going to make it so uber expensive for the correct people to move in or those with only money, then what's the point of having this wonderful, beautiful city with its parks and its landmarks? It's more than just violence. And yes, there is violence. There is. But who made it so? It was the politicians and their policies that caused desperation, that have caused the corruption to grow, which is why I say, again, go to City Hall.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, and this is something that I'm with you. I don't think people are stopping long enough to realize.
Mhm.
Everybody looked at what Trump did in Washington D.C. and hailed it as a success, which frankly it was. But everybody has to remember, Washington D.C. is a unique situation.
Mhm.
Because yes, there's a metropolitan government, but that whole District of Columbia in the end is administered by the Congress and signed off on by the president.
Mhm.
If in their estimation, the municipal government of Washington, D.C. is not keeping crime under control, that is a federal capital. They
Mhm.
have the right, let me say it again, they have the right to, if they need to call up National Guard troops to bring crime under control, they can do that. Why? Because it's a federal capital.
Exactly.
Here's the problem when you start exporting what Trump did in DC to major metropolitan areas around the United States. Okay, you can probably get away with the argument, okay, deploy federal National Guard to defend federal buildings.
Right.
Okay, you could probably get away with that argument legally. Go past that and do anything else.
Exactly.
And start getting in the area of civilian policing. Yeah, I mean, there have been examples where American presidents have sent in the National Guard
And the Marines.
and the Marines
Yes.
and the Marines to get crime under control. Probably the best example I could think of are the riots in the early 90s related to Rodney King.
Yes, the LA riots, yes.
The LA riots were out of control. Bush had to do something because the mayor out there, who I think was Bradley at the time, and Gates, who was the police chief, they had lost control of it. And if they didn't, if old man Bush did not deploy National Guard troops, LA would have burned to the ground, which many conservatives now argue, well, would that have been such a bad thing?
Well, the fires did it itself.
Yeah, agreed. Now, but laying that aside, okay, you can make an argument that Brandon Johnson's administration is no administration at all. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Oh no, you hit the nail on the head, because here's two factors you need to put in here for Mayor Brandon Johnson. And I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
Here's the thing. And I have to look for the video now, but where we talked about Mayor Brandon Johnson's, the people who made up his administration, he had people that are part of his administration from previous other administrations, from Rahm and Lightfoot. Now, if you remember the courses of the Prince, and I'm going to quote Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos, Nico Machiavelli, he's the Sun Tzu of Italy. Machiavelli. But if you look at his book and his writings, right? Again, I actually have my family members here. They're actually watching Sopranos for the first time, so I'm sharing all the Soprano inside jokes with them. like in the comments section. Just I have to line the mood up here, but talking about the Sopranos and everything. But if you look at the writings in the Prince, and that is, if you're a leader, for example, the leader of a business, let's say Front Porch Conservative, you're going to want people that, yes, to challenge you critically, but also work for you to make your thing grow, right? And same thing goes for leadership, being a mayor, a governor, a president. You want people who are going to be for you, not other people who are part of previous other administrations who are there just because. Like, no, you have to clean house and get in people that, yes, will challenge you. Maybe say like, hey, I can do this. Maybe you're a little bit wrong on this, but I could fix this for you. But will, number one, work for you. That's the problem with Mayor Brandon Johnson. It's all over the place because it is. Why do you think his approval ratings at an all-time low? There's no plan. There's no coordination. There's no organization.
Yeah, I just and the thing is this: even if Trump, through the National Guard or ICE agents, is able to go in and clean Chicago, you bring up a valid point. Okay, the federal troops leave, National Guard leaves, ICE agents leave because they've eliminated, illegal immigrants who have criminal records who shouldn't even be in Chicago anyway. You've still got a bad mayor. You've still got a bad county commission. You've still got a bad sheriff in Tom Dart. You've still got the same either deliberate lackadaisicalness or deliberate, we just don't care and we're going to do whatever we want there. And sooner or later, everything you just went in and cleaned up by use of federal resources is going to come back.
Correct.
And the bigger question that I have is, and like I said, I can understand in one sense Trump's instinct. Okay. When you're getting reports coming out of Chicago of 30, 40, or 50 people getting shot in a weekend, okay, shot or killed, however you want to define that. When you're getting reports of that every weekend and you're an American president, okay, the instinct is I got to do something because no one else there is doing anything. But on the other hand, what's the long-term plan to reform Chicago? And I know using the words reform and Chicago together are like, it's a strange combination of terms. But what's the long-term plan to reform Chicago such that you have civic leadership that's actually going to do something about the problems such that you don't have the problems? Okay,
Exactly.
you cleaned it up with federal resources. That's great. Questionable, but great. The end result is great. But you don't address the long-term. What the heck are we going to do about a bad mayor and a bad city council and a bad county commission that's doing nothing to solve the problems of Chicago and or Cook County?
See, the thing is, I'm glad you mentioned DC. DC was a success, all right? And I'll say, okay, maybe I'll give support to criticism. Like, did it necessarily need to happen? No, but okay. That for Trump, he'll tout as success, and I will give it to him. But I will say and drop the gauntlet here: Chicago is not DC. It is a different animal altogether. And if you were going to be bringing these operations here, okay, let's say you succeed. See, there's a problem with dealing with crime, and that is the big time organizations, like the big groups back in the day, have been broken down into different chapters and organizations and subchapters and subgroups to where they all have issues or conflicts or alliances with one another. And go ahead and try and clean it up. Well, hey, there's always going to be something to remain. There's always going to be something to grow back and take its place. And the fact that this mayor has not shown the initiative of trying to stop anything escalating, well, then also you cause a lack of confidence in City Hall, because people heard Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker and all these leaders before ICE operations really started to intensify in August, saying that, oh, we're going to stand in front of them. We're going to protest. We're going to stand up and fight. We're going to do this and that. ICE operations happening, Black Hawk helicopters doing operations.
Yeah.
Does that inspire confidence in your leadership in City Hall? No, it doesn't. Now, while you might see some leaders maybe protesting from the ICE facilities and they're getting tear gassed, fine. But what is the initiative? Because already it's getting out of hand to where it could expand into other different neighborhoods. And you're going to have that building resentment and anger, not only towards the government, but you're going to have that resentment towards City Hall. And of course, in that point in time, you will have people looking like, okay, well, City Hall is not going to represent me. If federal government's going to be coming in here and doing all of this, where do we go? It's either communities start relying on themselves individually, and in turn, there's also the exploitative nature of the criminality movement, where it's just like, police don't care, City Hall doesn't care, we kind of care.
Yeah.
And what is left behind in the aftermath?
Yeah.
See, there's talk of doing this fight now and rah, rah, rah. But there's always one day this will end, and the aftermath and what replaces what was here in Chicago. So you talk about reform. I'm going to be very careful here. And may he rest in peace. My grandpa, used to talk about how Chicago was corrupt. I don't think you can reform this current system. It needs to be broken and taken apart. The Democrat machine that was established long before I was born needs to be removed. All right. And I'm just going to call it the machine, because you had two districts flip red here in Chicago, which is a sign of, okay, Chicagoans are voting something else other than Democrat, which never happened. Two districts turned red for Trump in 2020. That doesn't happen. That surprised Jimmy Dore. That surprised Jamal Green. That surprised Nick Thompson. I had a panel show with Jamal Green and Nick Thompson just a few weeks ago talking about Chicago and where we're at. They never expected that to happen. So what can lie in store is perhaps maybe organizations and people looking to new parties and new leadership to challenge the machine. But then when you challenge the machine, we have to look at, okay, where are all of our funding at? The TIF funds and other resources, so that we can actually rebuild Chicago, because what we have here cannot effectively work and cannot be reformed. There's no reforming the current system. Yes, there are good aldermen and alderwomen trying to fight for this city, but it needs a full-on restructuring. It needs, and at the end of the day, so what it really needs is the people of Chicago. There should not be less a 10% voter engagement. There needs to be a full-on 80% engagement. But try telling that to generations of people who have been trained, screwed over, or got the harsh education that no one in City Hall cares and that their vote doesn't matter. It's where community outreach, mutual aid, and organizations need to start stepping up to be leaders in their own right, to where City Hall is crawling on their knees, begging for votes, or either that we're looking for people who will actually lead and take over City Hall. That's what needs to happen. And I do hope that perhaps what we're witnessing here is that wake-up call for Northsiders, Southsiders, everybody else in between to get actively involved in their local politics, because you have to know, because if we don't put a stop to this, if things get out of hand, what will remain of Chicago if there's any soul left?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to go to Gypsy, hey, if you've got questions, put them in the chat. Let me see them. I will ask them of Kit. Brian Trippett here, the Front Porch Conservative, Kit Cabela from Heartlands Media. We're having a pretty good discussion, and I've got a question right here. How is government $37 trillion in debt afford to impose martial law on cities that have been structurally corrupt for decades? That's a great question, and a very fair one, might I add. I'll let you, if you want to address that one.
Well, I mean, money printer go burr. I mean, when it comes down to organizations and enacting martial law, I mean, we're not under martial law, thank God. But this was a policy that Trump wanted to enact, which was ICE deporting, detaining. It's in his budget, and we wonder why we were able to afford things. I say this again: hey, we're able to bail out banks, and then we're able to do other foreign wars, but we can't take care of our people. So there's money there. The big secret is that the money is there. It's just not going to the bigger important things. Yep. So, and then trying to bring order into cities. Well, the one thing you do is maybe do social programs. I get that there's criminality, and yes, you got to arrest the bad guys. Okay. I'm not here saying, no, we don't need cops on the street. No, you need to have law and order. Okay. You need to have, a structure. We are in, to quote George Costanza, we are living in a society here, people, and we have to, there are going to be bad guys. There's going to be situations where you're going to have bad people. But you just can't have a hammer in your hand. You also have to bring the other set of tools to build and maintain and organize and end it. So by ending it, you have to have the government go to Chicago and actually talk about the corruption, talk about the issues. And people's emotions have to be in check. I mean, I understand Trump's words. Trump doesn't help himself with his own words.
No, that's true.
So the thing is, like, people, either that, maybe associates or representatives of Trump or Brandon Johnson and Pritzker, are going to have to be the middlemen and actually speak to each other, to talk, so that this doesn't escalate out of control, because it will escalate out of control. Because I could see more residents getting upset of seeing ICE operations happening, or ICE wrongly detaining people, because that has also happened too. ICE going after people. There's that funny video where you have this guy on a bike. It's in downtown Chicago. ICE was patrolling. This dude was on a bike, and he was saying F Donald Trump, giving the ICE agents a middle finger. He drops his phone. He picks it up. Now, he's not a threat. Now, should he have been saying F Trump or F ICE or harassing those guys? Whatever. Freedom of speech, whatever. Everyone can do what they want.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Hey, people give me the middle finger sometimes. You run into crazy people all the time. But then when you have the ICE agents chasing after him, clearly he has no weapon. I remarked on this on my show, and that is, well, that's the beginning. You're chasing after a guy that really was just annoying you, like poking you. What happens then when you start to increase your operations? Because sooner or later, you're going to have residents filming you, saying, hey, you're arresting the wrong guy. You're arresting a citizen here. And that has happened already. That Rubicon has been crossed.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, we got another question, and this is from WWG1. What good is going to City Hall if they don't let you speak? Has this happened?
It's happened. Yeah. Oh, no. It's happened. It's happened. I have to find the video, but there was an incident when I was at City Hall. I was wrongly kicked out. I wasn't even doing anything wrong at all. There was a person out there who screamed at Rahm Emanuel, like, we don't respect you and you got to go. And the police were taking out people, and my phone was not on, but I was just turning it off. And a cop just put his hand, like, get up and go. I'm thinking, all right. Yeah, I was just wet behind the ears, like, okay, well, I'm getting kicked out. Fine, whatever. Just got to go. They were picking up random people to go, and it was stupid. But if you really want to see people getting angry, just look back at videos of 2024 where we have the Flip Chicago Red movement screaming at Mayor Brandon Johnson to the point to where he was saying, like, hey, I'm going to limit interaction in City Hall. So you have a Democrat mayor saying he doesn't want to hear people yell at him or scream at him or give him criticism. So what's the good of going to City Hall? It's on the record. It's on the record that City Hall isn't letting you speak. So to WWG1, WGAT, WGA Trump 1, you're asking these questions like, yeah, have it on the record. City Hall won't let you speak. Go there. But if they're not going to let you speak, go there anyways to go on the record and say, my First Amendment right is being denied.
Yep. Well, and while we're waiting for the questions, you brought up a couple of points that I want to get into with you. And the point you made is fantastic. Chicago is not necessarily, it's businesses or it's big buildings or whatever. It's little neighborhoods. I remember reading, years ago, Mike Royko's legendary book called Boss. And the one thing about Chicago, it had these wonderful ethnic neighborhoods, and still does to a certain extent. It still does. The Czechs, the Polish, the Chinese. I mean, the Greek ethnic neighborhoods. And the thing that scares me for Chicago, and New York City is not far behind as soon as Zamzani gets sworn in. The thing that scares me for Chicago is businesses can leave.
Mm-hmm.
There's been an exodus of businesses out of Chicago the past 10, 15 years. Yeah. They're going to places like Florida, they're going to Texas, etc. A person can't necessarily, some can, and some are already doing it because there is a population loss in Illinois.
Yeah.
But a lot of people living in Chicago just can't pick up and go, okay, I'm moving somewhere else for various reasons. Family, job, schools with their kids, etc. Yeah. And I'm just scared to death. And please address this, if you want to. I'm just scared to death is if we're not, and I think it was John Cass made this point one time when I had him on my live stream. How close is Chicago to the point of the only ones left are the only ones who are able to turn off the lights? In other words, the people who can get out have gotten out, and now who's left is just dealing with the aftermath of, okay, we couldn't leave, and now we're stuck with whatever we get. I mean, how close is Chicago to that point?
Well, if you really look at the economic hardship, the $1.1 billion in the hole, Chicagoans were just Americans like anybody else, struggling with bills day in, day out. Maybe tomorrow, the next day. It wouldn't put past me that no one can leave now. It is our home and our coffin.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So, and I say this because, look, I love this city, and it'll take a lot out of me to move out. I mean, I'm dealing with my own struggles right now here too. God willing, one day they're over, but wouldn't put it past. I mean, people are still fighting for the right to live in this city and struggle, and moving is probably the last thing. Maybe it's on their mind, but it's the last thing they can do because you have to look for greener pastures, and you better believe that they're not the only ones in that great arduous search.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's either you abandon the ship or you stop it from sinking. And you could write this on my tombstone. He tried to stop the ship from sinking. It's either you fight for this city or you don't. You let it die on the vine or you stand up and fight.
Yeah.
And I want to choose to actually try and make this city good, a great place to live, because there are good people here.
Oh, yeah.
It's just yes, we do need help. But Trump's message with ICE, it's more than that. We need the resources. And yes, we do need new leadership. And that also falls on the hands of Chicagoans. Like, look, Chicagoans, I know everybody in between, all that good jazz. But if we don't look at the real problem, and if we don't step up, there won't be a city to pass down to the next generation. It has to be active engagement. I don't care what our differences are. Yes, we are a hyper-segregated city, and I've made this joke on my show. We're a hyper-segregated city so bad that even Jim Crow laws back in the South would say, hey, we're going too far in certain areas. But if we don't break down these barriers and realize that we are being screwed over, and if we don't stop this inaction, this real abuse towards us, then we will be a city of just turning the lights on and off, lights on and off. That's it, day in, day out. No growth, stagnation. A dead city.
And for my part, I mean, I used to live out in Illinois back in the 90s. I was living in Springfield. I would travel to Chicago. I love Chicago. Mm-hmm. Chicago is a great city,
Lovely.
I mean, a million and one things to do on a given day. You can go. I mean, back in the day, you could go down the Magnificent Mile. You could like go shopping. You could do whatever. You had great sports teams, whatever. Okay, it just breaks the heart to watch either because, well, no, in part mismanagement, and not just mismanagement, ideological mismanagement. You've let your ideas override your common sense to the point you cannot turn around and say, you know, that idea that I put in place was a really bad one. We need to reverse course like right now and tell everybody, hey guys, we screwed up. We're not going to do that anymore. No, you're so locked in to your belief system, because city governance, if you get right down to it, and if you want to disagree with me on this, feel free. City governance is basically this: can I make sure the trash is off the street? Can I make sure the criminals are off the street? Can I make sure the businesses can flourish? Can I administer the city's finances well? Can I provide basic services so that people want to come here and we can grow this thing? It's not necessarily about ideology.
Well, there are people who have ideology.
I agree.
And see, and one of your viewers, I think it's TB369, who wrote, "What is the use is if your voting machines, they are already programmed to select the communists?" Well, like I said, we don't have communists here in the city. I mean, yes, there are Democrat socialists here, but there's like, I think maybe 6 members who are associated with DSA. I think the rest. No, not so much. So when people say Chicago's a communist city, I mean, I didn't get the memo. It's more of a neoliberal corporatist city, but okay. I mean, look,
yeah,
people say like, oh, well, if you don't like the Democrats, you're a Trump supporter or you're a fascist or something. Like, don't use that word as just like you're describing me as an ideology. I mean, if it's just a slur like, oh, well, Chicago's a communist city, fine. If it was a communist city, I didn't get the memo. I did not, because there's a lot of there's a lot of issues in regards to money and politics. But in regards to the voting machines, that's another problem here. That's another problem, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad that was addressed. So let's talk about voting machines in Chicago. That's a good question about what happens to your vote. In 2018, I was watching the Young Turks, and this was when Jimmy Dore was still on and Cenk Uygur were covering the midterm election cycle. And I'll never forget this. There was a progressive candidate that was challenging an incumbent Democrat. And this candidate, she was winning. She was in the lead. And then somewhere along the point of Cenk and Jimmy covering this midterm election cycle in 2018, her votes disappeared, and the incumbent got in the lead. Cenk was like, "Whoa, what happened there?" And Jimmy was just looking at his phone and says, "Oh, that happens all the time in Chicago. Votes disappear. Sometimes if the I's aren't dotted right, the T's aren't crossed right, things disappear. Thanos out of existence." There needs to be election integrity. When I talk about how independents and third-party candidates are running in Illinois, you know, they're always going to end up in a courtroom because there's legal issues that stop libertarians, the Illinois Libertarian Party, the Illinois Green Party, independents, from getting on the ballot and getting on the debate stage. I remember interviewing Green and Libertarian candidates that were trying to get on for Treasury office or get on a debate that was being hosted by WTDW Chicago, and they weren't allowed in. They filed all the paperwork, but they were not allowed to be part of the debate. So you ask about voting machines. We need to have election integrity, and election integrity in Illinois and in Chicago is a bit of a challenge, because
a bit.
I'm being generous to that word.
Oh, I know.
It is a huge problem. And if you're going to do that, I mean, we need people, Chicagoans, and all groups to start demanding it. And thankfully, at least in 2 districts where they flipped red, I mean, the votes counted. That happened. Obviously, Illinois being the blue votes, all the votes, the Electoral College went to Trump, obviously, but it was a sign of, oh, the machines aren't working right. That's what I took from it. And I'm probably wrong on this now, but at least as it stood, when I interviewed one of the organizers for Flip Chicago Red, you know, they didn't get help from the Illinois GOP. They did it all themselves. And I think they're still doing their own thing right now, at least as it stands. But they are, you know, they were able to show that with enough groundwork and enough action and attention, you can break the machine that happened. But in regards to election integrity, That's a very good question. Chicagoans need to start doing this, and all these electoral watch groups need to start being more involved in regards towards election integrity, because Chicago's known for votes just disappearing.
Well, as feckless as the Illinois GOP is anymore, I'd say don't rely on them for anything. If you're an independent organization, keep on being independent, because frankly, the Illinois GOP hasn't seen any significant power since the late 90s, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they did have Bruce Rauner in.
All right, I give you that.
Yeah, but see, the problem with Rauner is that when he went into office, he kind of, like how you play playing poker or playing Uno. Imagine you're showing your cards to your opponent, thinking like, yeah, I'm going to do this to you. He went in there challenging Michael Madigan, who was the longest Speaker of the House in
I remember Mike Madigan.
State history ever. And if that was your plan, it was a terrible plan. There was 2 years where Illinois was operating without a budget, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point to where the fact the Illinois GOP broke ranks with the governor and said, like, okay, we got to get a budget working in Illinois. Otherwise, this state is going to go under. And that's how Pritzker kind of got into office right now. But yeah, he tried to take on the machine by being his own machine. And while that was a interesting concept, a horrible idea. You just don't say to your opponent, I'm going to fight you. You make it subtle.
No, you with a politician, the skill and the longevity of Madigan. Mm-hmm. If you're the opposition, you come in, you sit down and say, all right, look, Mike, we don't agree on much of anything here, but we got to coexist. Tell me what you're willing to give. I'll tell you what I'll give. Let's meet in the middle. Now, people can sit there and say, oh, that's a betrayal of your principle. No, that is practical governance. You've got to do that at some point in a divided government.
And somebody who's been in power as long as Michael Madigan has, yes. And in fact, he has been sentenced to pay $2.5 million in fines and serve 7.5 years in prison currently. So 4 days ago, he reported to federal prison. So he's going to go in West Virginia. So he's going to be serving his sentence.
Oh, he's coming to my state.
Yeah, federal prison camp. I believe it's called Morgantown, West Virginia.
He's going to Morganhole? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, Madigan. Well, hey, go and pay him a visit. Actually,
I may have to.
I do actually say something positive about Michael Madigan. I have something positive to say. So before I got involved in this little media business, this media sphere, I was part of Wolfpack, which was an organization called to get money out of politics.
Sure.
And the Democrat leadership, even Madigan liked our idea for a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics. Even Madigan liked it. He voted for it. He was like, yeah. Illinois became the third state to call for a constitutional convention to get money out of politics. I don't know what Wolfpack is doing anymore because I'm not associated with them, but I was part of that group, and we convinced Madigan, like, hey, money in politics is a bad idea. He said, yeah, okay. Who knew?
Who knew?
But yeah, it's interesting. I wish she was still alive to see it, but my old man was not a fan of Madigan. He was like, Madigan, that guy's corrupt.
Yeah, these are corrupt. It's kind of like we used to joke about. We had a former governor here, Arch Moore, mm-hmm. and everybody's like, well, we know he's a crook, but he's our crook. I mean, it's like,
it's an end of an era. It's a huge significant moment in Illinois politics. Madigan, he is the old guard of the Illinois Democrat machine. If you had told me or any of my relatives that Madigan was going to go to jail or anything like that,
they said you're crazy. Yeah,
no, you're crazy, but it happened.
If real quick, if I remember correctly, Madigan got elected to the Illinois House in 1974, became Speaker in 81 or 83. Mm-hmm. And with the exception of a brief 2-year interlude in the 90s when the Republicans took the House in Illinois, he was Speaker from like 82 to like up until like 2000, somewhere in the late 2000 teens, if my memory's right.
Yeah,
that man held the gavel of the Illinois House for 40 plus years.
It's an incredible feat when you really think about it. He lived life his own way. And yes, folks, I'm not defending the corruption. I'm not, but it's just like, he's been in that long. And this is where it's the story doesn't end, but there it is.
You have to admire the man's political skills over the course of his time as Speaker. It's just remarkable. Exactly. All right, real quick, let me squeeze this in. Where is Anthony Fauci's indictment? He lied to Congress repeatedly. All right, I don't disagree with that, my friend. Then I saw another one that says, have you been to DC lately? Trump can call it a success, but nothing here has changed. Okay, I'll take your word on that one, brother. Yeah, if you got any other questions, squeeze them in, folks. We got a few more minutes left. Yeah, I mean, in the coming months, your anticipation is in Chicago, it's bad, potential to get worse, powder keg could go off. It's just going to take one singular event.
Yeah. And I could sit here and speculate, but it's not fair to your audience because the next thing, well, kid, you predicted this, kid, you predicted that. Here's my warning that I gave. All right. And I wanted to be wrong about this. The warning I gave on the show from 2021 up until now, at least up until ICE fully was engaging, is that the sanctuary cities, the policy of it is a bad idea, and that's going to eventually lead to a point to where residents living in the city are going to have resentment not only towards the migrants, but even towards City Hall, and it's going to cause further confrontation, and it's going to be another point of the Illinois budget, or the city budget, correction, the Chicago city budget being out of control to where we cannot afford all these big promises, and that it could potentially blow up. I wanted to be wrong about it. I hope that there was a plan, but there wasn't a plan. And now that it's happened, these ICE raids, Trump also engaging with Democrat leadership here with Governor Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson is just adding more fuel to the fire, because there's a lot of ego and pride here.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand everyone wants to be right. Everyone wants to win that fight. But there are citizens living in this city, and there are other Americans watching what's happening in Chicago. So if there isn't a calm sit down, a real organization of how to deal with the migrants correctly, but also not engaging and arresting U.S. citizens, or is that having conflicts with the CPD or gassing the CPD, Chicago Police Department, if we don't really address the corruption in City Hall, then yeah, there's going to be maybe an incident or a couple incidents happening that will be a point of no return. And neither the mayor, the governor, or Trump will be able to halt people's emotions and raw feelings in what they've been keeping bottling up for the last 8 years. So there is potential for this not to happen, and I don't want that to happen.
No, no one does. I mean,
but I never get what I want.
Well, but I've been seeing comments in chat. I mean, I think it was Gypsy who was commenting on, neighborhoods in and around Detroit that, in the 60s and 70s, great neighborhoods for families to live in. Now, what have they got? Islamic prayer calls at 5:00 in the morning, and, places that if you were an average Detroiter, you don't recognize. But I mean, let me ask you this. You said that this whole situation that's going on over the past few months could be the wake-up call that Chicago needs to realize, okay, I haven't engaged civically in participating. I haven't gone to vote. I haven't made my voice heard. I haven't voted. I haven't whatever. And you said the municipal elections are coming up in 27. How much between then and now do you think is there that the citizens of Chicago say, okay, I may be a lifelong Democrat. My family may be 3 or 4 generations Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do this anymore. If a Jamal Green or someone or Paul Vallis or, anyone like that steps up and says, I want to run for mayor, and I've got this slate of candidates that are willing to work with me and my ideas to turn around, how much potential do you think is there that I agree with you? I think Brandon Johnson's, politically speaking, he's dead man walking. But how much potential is there Chicago could turn this around and say, you know what, it's going to take a long time. The steps are going to be halting. We're not going to know from one moment to the next, are we making the right decision? But we've got to go a different direction. How much do you think it's there?
So there is fertile ground for political involvement. Maybe not 80%. I shot high, all right? But, maybe for at least get past maybe 10 or 15, maybe we could look at maybe a voter engagement of 40%. Who knows? And I say this because of what Flip Chicago Red has done, but also the growing disdain and anger that we're seeing towards the Democrat machine. And you can see the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, and independents starting to step up. And there is that need in which people say, like, okay, I can get involved. And I say this because right now there are two factions in Chicago. I mean, they don't have any names, but there's people who are for what's happening with ICE and Trump coming into Chicago, and then you got people who are against it. And you could have that engagement, but then within those groups, there are people of, well, I'm not for this full-on federal involvement, and I'm also not for, helping out the Democrats maintain control over Chicago. So there is going to be that talk, and people are going to realize that, well, wait a minute, if it's always been like this, we need to have more engagement, more civic engagement. And we need to vet these people who are going to be representing us. And if these incumbents have been doing this, then we need somebody that will do this. And it's called sitting down, having that conversation from the front porch, like how we're doing right now on the digital front porch.
Yeah.
But it means that Chicagoans themselves, like, I just can't knock on every single door. I'll get arrested for this. I can't knock on those and say, hey, talk to your neighbor. Knock on your door. Talk to your neighbor. Like, I'm only one man in a city of millions of people. I don't want to be known as that guy saying, yeah, that's the dude who keeps on knocking on our doors telling us to talk to you, or F that guy. But that's what it's going to have to come down to.
Yeah.
And that's what Chicagoans themselves they're going to have to take a look within themselves and ask them, do they have the Constitution within themselves to get actively involved in a political machine that is that fits the profile of absolute corruption? And the only way to end this absolute corruption is for citizens to realize that we've been living under this for such a long time. I hope that can be done. Maybe with what we see through the end of this year and going to next year, we could see more civic engagement.
Yeah.
But it matters is how hungry are Chicagoans to really challenge the long-standing machine. Because the problem is too, and before I forget this, I know we're running short on time. There's probably gonna be a hodgepodge of people running for the office of mayor.
Oh yeah.
Last time there was like maybe 18, maybe 16 people running. See, the thing is, there's the open primary. Technically, everyone's running as an independent. Technically, so that's why. So when you say like, "Oh, we got a Republican candidate," yeah, technically you do, because in Chicago, everyone's an independent till you have to put the D around your neck.
Yep. Oh, I know.
Yeah. So technically, in an open primary, you could have a Paul Valls, a Jamal Green. It's not fair for me to put Jamal Green's name out there, or even Paul Valls' name out there. But you ask for those two. Okay, those two on it. And then you got a whole hodgepodge of other people. It's the office for mayor, technically a Democrat primary, but it's really an independent primary.
Oh, I know.
Independent. So already we have some problems with how we're going to be selecting our mayor, because unlike with New York City, you got a Republican candidate. You have Zoran Mandani, who's a Democrat nominee, and then you have Cuomo, who is the independent. Which, speaking to Larry Sharp, who's a libertarian, knowing Jose Vega, who runs as an independent, I've never seen an independent candidate in New York City, New York State, have it so easy when those two have been facing off against legal red tape running as independents.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah, it's just New York. Talk about a whole. I was talking
how Cuomo was able to get the when I heard him run. I'm running as an independent. It's like, wow, you had the door wide open for you, huh? I bet a lot of libertarians and Greens and independents wish they could have that.
Yeah, I was talking with the lady this morning, and I said, I don't think New York City nor does the country realize what's about to happen when Zamdani becomes mayor, because there's been a slow, how do I want to put this? There's been a slow degradation to New York City in general, and he just might be the accelerant.
I view Mandani as a clone of AOC or Obama at this point. I mean, I'll wait and see what he does, but already, like, looking at his campaign, it's a side eye. I've seen this before, and I think people need to realize, like, you could have a politician come up there and make all these big promises, but the thing is, follow through. Mayor Brandon Johnson, he had made all these promises. Follow through is key. No follow through and no plan. So I don't know who wants to represent Chicago, but whoever they do, I mean, God be with them.
Yeah, really.
They're going to be inheriting a mess. And this person, whoever they be, man or woman, no matter what color of skin, they have to care about the city. And that means they have to be willing to take on the full-on corruption of Chicago and be a leader that the city desperately needs. So 2027, war zone Chicago. It'll also be a political war zone. So
absolutely.
It's going to be like War of the Roses. It's either with the Lancasters or the Yorks. Who are you with? But now, instead of just two, you got a whole wide bouquet of flowers to pick from. Red, blue, green, pink, all that.
Amen to that. And it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. Kit, where can people find you on social media? Where can they go to help support you? Matter of fact, tell folks again about the GoFundMe that you guys have got up for. Tell everybody what they can do to help you out.
All right. Well, first of all, you can follow Hard Lens Media. We are on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, and X. We have a Patreon page as well. I can give you my link tree. Hang on. I'll just go ahead and send a link tree, Peachtree. That way people can find it here. Let me send it to you in the private chat. Sending the link tree, Peachtree right there. So there you go. There you can find all of our social medias. Obviously I'm to the left, but I'm politically homeless. So you can find our YouTube channel, our X account, our Rumble account, our Kick account, Patreon, Substack, Discord. So any which way you guys can do that. And of course, we could use help for our GoFundMe. As always, we're very appreciative for all the assistance. There's been a lot of updates so far. And I just wanted to say to people that for all the people that have been very generous to us and helping us, we are eternally grateful. We're still in this fight, and I have nothing but love and respect for all those who have been standing in solidarity with us. So thank you.
Well, I'm dropping the link tree and I'm dropping the GoFundMe on both YouTube and Rumble. Folks, if you have the ability to help, please do so. How everybody understands that everybody's situations are unique and different, but if you've got the ability to help Kit out with what he's going through, check out the GoFundMe. It explains everything. And hang around for, if you've got a second or two, hang on when we wrap up the stream. I want to catch up with you.
Absolutely. And I also want to address a question. TBA369 says Kit's running office as a lefty. No, okay. Real quick here. I addressed this on my show. Actually, I was offered to run by the Illinois Green Party to run as a governor candidate. I politely refused due to a lot of personal things that I'm going through, of course, but I am more than happy to support independents and third parties. I interviewed Larry Sharp, who's running as a libertarian for New York governor in 2026. I wish him all the best because he's a former Marine like myself. And no, I am not. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I've seen. Yes, Talladega Nights. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put me into running for office, okay? Don't do that. I've seen the cost of what it means to run for alderman, mayor, and yes, even for governor. Don't put that evil on me. If you love me, okay, you don't have to agree with my opinion, but if you like me, don't do that. Don't do that.
Exactly. Let's keep this brother pure. All right, folks, I want to thank you for stopping by Front Porch Brunch. As always, thank you for the memes, and I want to thank Mr. Scott Awesome for a Rumble rant. I did not realize that he had given me earlier. So yes, Brian is alive. Brian is very much alive. Thank you very much. And Mr. Scott Awesome, thank you for that Rumble rant. I genuinely do appreciate it. Folks, we're going to be back this Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Tuesday Night Newsroom. Please also remember this Wednesday night, Dr. Robin McCutcheon, economist of note, or maybe it's better to say economist willing to be associated with me, is going to be back on the Electronic Front Porch 7 p.m. Wednesday night. So make some plans, tell some friends. In the meanwhile, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Got nothing but love for you. Kit, hang around for a second. We'll talk backstage. Love you guys very much. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys very much. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.